Happy Friday, and welcome back to another episode of Brunch with the Fellas, reviewing the latest trending topic news and entertainment. I'm Chef Earl Pearl at DBCHEFTV, and mi primo grande ain't with us tonight, y'all. But you know what he doing? He is doing mucho grande abuelito type things out here, man. So he'll be right back with us next Friday. Y'all send some love for him and his grandbabies and his babies and all that. You know what I'm saying? It's a family affair, man. That's how we do it. And smash that like button. Also subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. So when we go live, you never miss an episode of Brunch with the Fellas. Don't forget, y'all, right now, head on over to www.bksoulfarm.com and pick up your copy of 1016 160 Self-Sustainability by the God Ali Dawood El at BK Soul Farm. Link is in the description. And then what you got to do to win? Subscribe to DB Chef TV on YouTube. Put your name in a hat. Y'all showing love, so we want to show love back. And that's what you got to do for that. We give away $100 each and every third Sunday of the month. So subscribe, put your name in a hat, and we hope you win. And let's get into these trends. Know what I'm talking about? Let's get into it. So tonight, first we got a dangerous new opioid claiming victims called what was it? Cychlorphine? I don't know, y'all. It's crazy. But it sounds like that little stomach thing going on, making everybody poop, right? But it's something, but this a little more dangerous than that. So we're gonna check that out. Then we got Congress votes to end daylight savings. Y'all know spring forward, fall back, ain't gonna be no more of that. And that's gonna be crazy. So we're gonna go check out a story on that. Then we got rappers Memphis Bleek and Tony Yayo. We got Brooklyn and Queens. We got Marcy and Guy Brewer, 145, 145. They debating life at 50 years old. That's how I'm gonna frame it, you know. And I think, you know, we had a moment y'all seen on the thumbnail that we said he hit Yayo with the Drizzy Drake, yo Yayo. So we're gonna point that out when we get to that. Then Diddy, man, Diddy still doing this thing. Even behind bars, he sold his FBI rated home in Star Island. It's a mansion, y'all. He sold it for 55 M's. Somebody got a deal on that. We're gonna check that out. Then we got the death of Nolan Wells, looking for answers and justice. This is a crazy case going on down there in the MI Crooked Letter. And man, it's wild. You know, this is a wild case. But we're gonna go check out that, see what they got going on. And then Lil Boosie. We got rapper Lil Boosie, man. He won his money back after a failed Trump pardon. That sounds wild, right? He won his money back after a Trump pardon. I didn't even know you could do that, but we're going to get to that. We got a story about that. And then, of course, y'all got to stick around because we got them too many mimosas, and we got some crazy too many mimosas going down tonight. So let's go ahead and jump into these topics.
Now there's a new drug on Ohio streets that researchers say is even more powerful, more deadly, and most people have never heard of it. It was first discovered in the United States last fall, and this drug can kill even when naloxone is used to try and reverse it. 19 investigator Mike Mason explains why.
First, there was fentanyl, then nitazenes. Now there's a new synthetic opioid called cychlorphine. It belongs to a newly emerging class of compounds called orphines. Experts say they first appeared in the U.S. last fall.
It's pretty serious. It's pretty scary, very scary.
Dr. John Sprague is a toxicologist and scientific researcher at Bowling Green State University. He also does drug research for the Attorney General's office. Sprague says cychlorphine has already begun showing up on Ohio's streets.
We're trying to get the information out there as quickly as we could to healthcare professionals to know that you may be dealing with something you've never seen before.
Last fall, a Hamilton County man overdosed on what he thought was Xanax.
product that he bought contained not only cychlorphine, it contained fentanyl, it contained xylazine.
The man survived, but paramedics had to administer several doses of naloxone. Sprague says in some cases, naloxone may not be enough to reverse an overdose. Ohio's Bureau of Criminal Investigation says orphines have been found in Ohio 36 times since last October. 2 cases were in Elyria and 1 was in Summit County. Dr. Sprague says orphines are becoming popular because they release more dopamines than other opiates, but he says the drug can also be deadlier.
Look at it as a like the old fair games where you go and you take the hammer and you hit the plate and the thing goes up to hit the bell at the top. Fentanyl will go 90% of the way, whereas cychlorphine appears to go all the way with one smack of that plate.
And it gives the user a higher high.
Correct.
Scientists invented cychlorphine in a lab decades ago, but it was too dangerous to go on the market.
That's crazy, y'all. That's crazy. So, man, where we start with that cychlorphine? First, they need to ban it. But I heard that it was actually an article that even in that same news clip just now, that it's legal. It's legal in the state of Ohio as a prescription drug. It's still Schedule 1 where like you need an actual prescription for it. But, you know, they're putting it in medications. So that's wild right there. But then the fact that it's more potent than fentanyl, that is crazy. So all I can say is to everybody, man, out there, know what you're putting in your body. And, you know, don't buy drugs off the street, man. If you got a prescription for something, you know, do that. If you know, if you got a license for if your state is a recreational cannabis state, do that. If you got to get a medical card, do that. I'm telling you, because you don't know what they putting in these recipes, trying to get people to come back. And what it sounds like is you might not make it back if you know, if you get a bad batch. So think about that before y'all do that, man. Let's jump to this next topic. We got Congress voting to end daylight savings.
Americans are one step closer to no longer changing their clocks twice a year. On Tuesday, the House passed a bill that would make daylight saving time permanent, keeping clocks 1 hour ahead of standard time year-round.
It wouldn't get dark until probably closer to 5:30. So that's awesome.
Kind of nice. Yes.
And then the latest sunrise would go from 6:58 in the morning all the way to almost 8 a.m., 7:58 in the morning. So like
And
kids
that be
getting on
in
the
January,
bus,
be a little darker.
yeah, December and January, kids get on the bus, it'd be dark.
While the change would bring more opportunities for time outside in the afternoon sunlight, it is a plan the U.S. has already tried.
I remember that. I remember getting on the bus when it was dark outside. But plus, I had got expelled from school too, though. So like before we could walk to school, this was like 6th grade, 6th or 7th grade. But I was walking to school then. But then once I had to get on that bus, though, I had to be out there early, though. That was crazy, though. But I can remember that. That's different. That will be a permanent thing. You know, it's when you grow up, when you get older and you stop, you know, and you stop like doing certain things, because in the military, y'all, like I was up before the sun came up anyway, based on my job. So it's a little bit different when you always up before the sun up. You know, daylight savings never really made a difference to me. But when I think about it, you know, listening to the news clip, it's like, man, okay, yeah, I could put myself back in them days where it was like you got up, you know, and you had to get out there and get on the bus, or you got up in the bus and it was a little bit of, you know, it was dusk where you could see the sun on the horizon. So you had a little daylight to be able to see and navigate. But it's gonna be something to see with this change going into effect.
And before,
we actually tried it back in 1974, and we switched back to what we're on now, which I'd like to think we're learning from history.
the federal government made daylight saving permanent in 1974 from January to October to conserve energy during the oil crisis. But the change had consequences here in Tennessee. In Nashville, a 14-year-old student was hit and killed by a driver while going to school in the morning darkness. Other school districts debated later start times, and by August,
Damn. I'm glad I ain't get hit by no driver or nothing, but I kept my hind parts on the sidewalk though, so I wasn't even. We had a little sidewalk, so I ain't have to get all. That's crazy though. But somebody could have came up off the sidewalk, right? They could have been drunk early in the AM, not seeing, or whatever the case may be, whatever they was had going on. It might not even been their fault. They could have been on the sidewalk, cooling where they were supposed to be, the young person. But that right there is you know, I know that like the news will take certain stories and they like focus on like the worst thing, the worst case. But if that's a real concern, like that's something, the safety of the babies is always something that we should be mindful of, you know, because that's the youth. So it's crazy though that changing the time, the daylight savings time, by not doing it anymore, you know, has the conversation right here at where it's like, you know, a child's life can be in danger. That's how serious we need to reconsider this. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. You know, it don't seem like it if they just going ahead with it and like, you know what, we ain't worried about this situation right here. That's just one of everybody else was fine. Who knows? Am I wrong? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
the State Board of Education asked the governor to push for an end to the experiment, citing student safety.
We use light to synchronize our clocks, our biological clocks. So that actually, believe it or not, light in the morning helps us get to bed earlier that night. It kind of aligns everything up. And then our moods can also be affected when we don't have that light.
Dr. Malo tells me those darker mornings could create challenges with the natural circadian rhythm, as well as difficulty during winter storms, especially without the morning sun assisting in melting.
Yeah, that's super crazy. So daylight savings, no more spring forward, fall back, y'all. You know, so I hope some people watch that, y'all, to let some people know. Make sure y'all smash that like button, everybody in the building. You know, let people know that you know, if they got babies and stuff like that, or if they have activity getting up, you know, there's so much stuff going on in the world right now. People may not even be thinking about that. You know, I know for a fact myself, just with all I had going on, like in the last previous years, I remember my wife having to tell me, like, babe, don't forget to set your clock back, or don't forget to move your clock forward, just because I just wasn't even thinking about time. You know, I'm just focused on, I had so many other things I'm just focused on. So, you know, I think that I'm not different from anybody else. I know we all get busy. We all have a lot of things to do. We got goals. We got stuff that, you know, we trying to focus on. So definitely, y'all be mindful of that. Be mindful of the safety aspects of, you know, it being dark outside when the baby's going out there, or you getting up, going to work now. You don't have that sunlight to guide you in. You know, you may be in the dark yourself. Also in parts of the state where the weather conditions are wintry and you still have to deal with that, you know, so something to think about. Never really thought about it, but how it has an effect on everyone like that. But, you know, everybody be safe out here. The time ain't the same time no more. Now we're going to head to NYC, y'all. We got rapper Memphis Bleek and Tony Yayo debating life at 50. Just to preface this a little bit, y'all, Tony Yayo was on, I believe, Club Shay Shay, and he asked him some questions, and in the conversation, Tony Yayo brought up Bleek name and Jay-Z and said some things, and then Bleek responded. So we're gonna go hear all that, and then we're gonna hear all that too, and then we're gonna tell you what we think about it. Let's get to it.
You spoke about how
Jay don't look
they'll
out
look out for Bleek like Fib look out for you.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I just want to clear that up. Hov don't have to.
And then he said he eat his home halal.
You know what I mean? All right. Okay. I'm chewing halal on my own.
He eats on his own. I eat on my own too.
Right.
I go on my own tour. I just came off tour.
Right.
When have you seen Bleek on tour? On his own. Jay-Z is not a bad guy. Bleek is not a bad guy. I'm not saying it. I'm saying to you that Jay-Z was all business with them niggas. When Buck up on his taxes, 50 a piece or more. When Prodigy bought a house and needed more money, 50 a piece or more. Prodigy are paying back. The thing with 50 is it was business and we was friends. I don't feel like Bleek was Jay-Z friend. I don't feel like Young Guns was Jay-Z friend. It came to a point where 50 was helping Siegel. Siegel was left in the dust. Let's keep it real. That's how I looked at it.
Okay. So that's how Tony Yayo looked at it. So we got two sides. So one thing, and it's just my opinion, I don't know neither one of these guys personally. All right. Shout out to Memphis Bleek. Shout out to Tony Yayo. He said that's how he feel about it. You know, we live in a world where you can't tell nobody how to feel. But one thing about his comments that he made was that they was feelings, they wasn't facts. They wasn't where he called Bleek and had a conversation like, yo, this how I'm feeling about this situation. Because a lot of times what happened is if somebody would call, if Tony Yayo would have called, he'd have been like, Bleek might have been like, mind your business. You know, so if Bleek telling him mind your business, like why you worried about what we got going on, he don't want to have that conversation. So it's easier to just say how you feeling when you on the outside looking in. Okay. So we're not gonna make it like that hasn't been like in the hip hop culture, things that people say like, oh, Bleek don't do this, Jay don't do this for Bleek and all that. That's a narrative. All right. But I would say people wrong. I would say people wrong as far as trying to worry about what another man doing for another man. They wrong in that form. What Tony Yayo should have did was, like I just said, was he should have called Bleek and he should have had a conversation. It shouldn't have been someone on a podcast where he's, you know, trying to compare these two people, you know, to his situation and his situation with his friend. You know, your situation with your friend is your situation with your friend. Bleek and Jay's situation as friends is their situation with them as friends. So, you know, I think that it would have looked more respectable. It would have looked more, you know, and then he wouldn't have had to be online, like, you know, but they both got podcasts. So it works. That's what, you know, if that's what it is, because we know it ain't nothing live, you know, but it works. But if I was Tony Yayo, that's if it's real, if this thing is real, and he's really concerned about how Jay-Z treats Memphis Bleek, then he should have called Bleek and had a conversation. Oh no, let's go to what Bleek's talking about.
Yo, say 401k records. It's called Hold It Down, homie. Drop some heat. They paying your bills, cuz. Can't compete. That's why they talk like that.
This ain't paying your bills, cuz. And then what Bleek say? He said they can't compete. That's why they talking like that.
Was helping Siegel. Siegel was left in the dust. Let's keep it real. That's how I looked at it.
Yo, say 401k records. It's called hold it down, homie. Drop some heat. Ain't paying your bills, cuz. Can't compete. That's why they talk like that. If 50 said 1 year, these niggas will be in a shelter. They shouldn't be allowed to talk about us or anybody when you literally are a dependent.
That part right there, y'all. That's why you got the thumbnail. You know, when I heard this right here, this sound like, hey, yo, yeah, yo. Yeah, STFU. That's what this sound like. Y'all let me know in the comment section or the chat. Y'all let me know.
If 50 said 1 year, these niggas will be in a shelter. They shouldn't be allowed to talk about us or anybody when you literally are a dependent. Can't even wear their jury without their boss.
Damn.
Show me a picture of Yayo walking around with his chain, the passport chain, without 50 Cent there. But they ain't taking care of you goddamn right they ain't. We take care of ourselves.
I think I heard Yayo say that you and which is crazy. He said you and Jay's friendship is just more business. I've never seen it.
Well, him and 50 friendship is just financial.
Yeah, 40. Yeah, both 48 going back and forth with each other sounds crazy.
Yo, but I'm just saying, it's like, yo, what you want me to be? Yo, Jay, look out for me. I drop bombs. We got a new song out right now, right? No More, produced by Cool and Dre, Moving. When the last Yayo record?
No More, produced by Cool and Dre. Shout out to 305 Dade County, North Miami. Yeah.
I don't know.
He's a dependent. Of course, he viewed life through, look out for me. I never looked at, come on. Jay raised bosses, man. He don't raise dependents. We all bosses, business owners. No, I got a bar and a restaurant in Vegas. Tell him pull up and come eat. Everything free on me.
He liked to travel and eat. When he was here, he said they go to all the places.
We got all that fly shit, escargot, all that. The bill is covered. We feed people on this side too. Where's his record?
We feed people on this side too.
Where's his businesses? Where's his house? Do he even have a house? Wait, let me ask you a question.
He does.
Do this have children?
I don't know.
Because when do he travel with his family? When is family time?
He got
I don't want to hear this 50 Cent Jay-Z shit. My wife right here, we just came from Paris, rocking the chateau. My daughter was in there, was in the room Leonardo da Vinci built. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
Like, my son just was at night one, Reasonable Doubt. Where's these niggas' kids? And you talking about somebody taking care of you. Who are you taking care of, man? Like, yo, we 50 and you still want to take care of you is insane to me. And the fans online think this is right. Arguing it. Yeah, Jay don't look out for Bleek. He's not supposed to. I have a job. I get paid well. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to start a daycare center for senior citizens, rappers, since they want to be dependent and want people to look out for them. But only thing they got to let me put life insurance on them. So if they die, we cash it out.
Yeah, I don't really think it need to be nothing else said. Call me biased, but yeah, 50 years old. We that looking for another man to look out for you. We don't do that. You know, I just look at the things that align because I know in Tony Yayo's role, I played 50 Cent to a lot of brothers, you know. So when I hear Bleek give his perspective on it, then I understand what that is because I have brothers like Jay that like I don't call and be like, can you do this for me or can you do that for me? Or I manage my own well enough so that way I don't have to call another man to be like, you know, hey, I need a bailout, you know? So I understand that. I understand that dynamic, and everybody ain't at that place in their life. So, like I said, shout out to Memphis Bleek, shout out to Tony Yayo. But oh no, Yayo, we might gotta give you too many mimosas though. I think we're gonna have to give you too many mimosas.
They've had way too much to drink. Cut them off.
Yeah, cut Tony Yayo off. He had way too much to drink with all that. Cause Yeah, raising bosses, men supposed to be men, 50 years old, worried about what another man supposed to do for you. Yeah, that's lame. I ain't, you know, I ain't got nothing else for it. We're gonna move on, y'all. So we gonna head, matter of fact, we just gonna head on over the causeway. And we gonna go and see what's going on with Diddy selling his FBI rated home on Star Island for 55 M's. Let's go check that out.
Sean Diddy Combs is making moves from behind bars. As the rapper continues serving his 4-year prison sentence, one of his Miami mansions has officially sold. According to multiple outlets, the Star Island property fetched $55 million. The waterfront estate features 6 bedrooms, 8.5 bathrooms, and sits next door to Combs' other Miami residence.
See, that's what I was telling Cold Seasons, that, like, you know, square footage and bathrooms make the mansion. You know, when you talking about you got 8 bathrooms, 2-3 bathrooms ain't no mansion. Okay, you got to have 5 or better. All right, he got 8 bathrooms, and from what I'm hearing, that is the guest house. That ain't even the one that the young brother, what's his son name, Justin, was rapping, was like they ran up in one, they ain't even get the other one, or whatever he said in his rap, you know. But yeah, he ain't sell the big boy mansion. He gonna probably come back and chill on that one, you know, when he come home, because he coming back to some money, and he just got that 55 M selling that. So somebody got to deal with that, because I'm sure that it's worth, I think Rick Ross said his worth 300 or something like that. And then the guy bought, some wealthy guy bought, like, you know, 8 or 9 properties or something across the street from him. They're going to be worth a B or more. So whoever got that at 55, that was a deal. You know, that was a really good deal for them. But yeah, that's trying to liquidate some asset. He trying to get liquid, man. Puff just getting liquid.
Which was raided by federal agents in March 2024. According to unsealed court documents, authorities said at the time they seized more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricants, along with various freak-off supplies, including narcotics. Combs was later charged with sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. During his 2025 trial, his ex, Cassie Ventura, testified that she was coerced into participating in hundreds of freak-off parties during their on and off again relationship of 11 years. In the end, the jury acquitted Combs of the sex trafficking and racketeering charges, but found him guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution under the Mann Act.
Yeah, that's wild, man. Puff will be home though. It's crazy that he gonna have to register as an SA offender. That is so wild. But man, we will see as the saga continues. As the saga continues of Sean Puffy Combs, aka Puff Daddy P. Diddy. We'll see what's going on with him. Let's get to this next one, y'all. We got the death of Nolan Wells. We going to the MI crooked letter, double crooked letter. They looking for answers, y'all. They're looking for answers. This has been a wild case. It's been strange. It's been mysterious. But let's see where they at with it today. You know, because this been going on for a while. Let's see where they at with it today.
Another story Americans watching very closely is the death of Nolan Wells. It's been nearly 2 weeks now since the mysterious death of the 18-year-old student. We're learning more about the boat trip that he took with his friends to an island off the coast of Mississippi. They were there to celebrate the 4th of July. NBC's Aaron Gilchrist is in Mississippi with more.
This morning, we're learning more about the Independence Day boat trip Nolan Wells and his friends took to Mississippi's Horn Island. As part of a records request to the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, NBC News obtained GPS information for the boat. The records show it departed from a private boat launch at 9:56 a.m., arriving at the island by 11:14 and staying there until 4:30 p.m. An audio of a call around that time to a private towing company obtained from the same records request, the caller explains a mechanical issue with the boat.
We're sinking. Can you all please come?
The towing company dispatched reaching out to a local captain for help.
It sounds like a bunch of kids on board on Horn Island, and he's saying the boat is sinking. He wants you guys to go out there and unpump the boat and then tow it in.
Records then show the boat being towed slowly from about 4:31 until 5:25 before getting back to normal speed. The boat then returned to its original location at 5:44 without Nolan Wells. Melissa Miller was at Horn Island on the...
All right, we gotta stop. We gotta pump the brakes right there. Now, they did have a distress call, what they call CTO or whoever they need to call to come and pump the boat. Okay, or to tow them in, or, you know, bring some type of bilge pump or whatever. But where was Nolan? If he was a passenger on that vessel, where was he? And where was the distress call for man overboard? Like, for that, in that little bit of knowledge right there that I know from living on the ocean, okay, this is deeper than this. It got to be deeper than this, because you don't call just to get towed in, but then a passenger goes missing and you don't call for that. So they got a case, y'all. They got a case. Something is mysteriously spooky. You know, it's mysteriously spooky. They got a case. Because I know for a fact, like, even if you're going out on a fishing boat, I know Cold Seas, if he was here, he go out on a fishing boat. If somebody go overboard, you know, like, and they can't get you, then you radio in man overboard. You know, you call the constables, the Coast Guard, the local Marine PD, the local Marine FD. You know, all of these agencies get deployed for any type of marine event. You know, something in the water, y'all. That's what, if you don't know Marine is, something in the water. Then it don't make sense. This do not make sense. After saying, now I don't know how many other people will hear this and be able to put them two and two together, because I don't know how many folks actually done lived on the water and been merchants, you know, and actually know what it is and protocols and standards, you know, for passengers and motor and, you know, in boats and stuff like that. So I don't know, y'all. Like, this right here is super crazy. Like, it's getting real spooky, and them guys got some explaining to do, because there's no way that you bring that boat back, that you call in for that, and you come all the way back and nobody said nothing the whole time they in tow. The whole time they in tow, ain't nobody say nothing like, oh yeah, one of our passengers ain't with us, he went overboard. Nobody said that.
Fourth, she says there were hundreds of boaters there for the holiday.
It's just a big community. Everyone goes out there and, you know, has a good time.
She also says it's normal to leave cell phones on boats, and that currents at the northwest corner of the island can be treacherous.
Like, you can go out there just innocently, and next thing you know, the water's, you know, like kind of sucking you in, you know, throwing you back out.
After speaking with one of the friends on the boat, Nolan's concerned mother reported him missing to police.
Police report her 18-year-old son, Nolan Wells, missing backseat at 3 on Horn Island.
His body was found on July 6th. His mother.
Now, let me say this, man, for his mom, for his mama, for his mother to have to do the missing report. That even right there make it even more crazy. Like, some of these judges and stuff that go fishing, and some of these attorneys that go fishing, they gotta see that it's some foul play going on. They gotta see that there's some foul play going on. It's no way. It's no way, y'all. And I'm telling you, I'm just learning about this tonight. The last 2 weeks, man, my mother's birthday, my mama's birthday is on 4th of July. So I had to do a lot of stuff to prep for that. So I just been kind of like recovering, rejuvenating since we celebrated her thing. So I'm like, I heard about this, but I didn't understand any details of it. And now that I'm getting some of these details of it, I'm seeing like, yeah, I'm understanding now the reason why America is watching this and should be, because it's no way that boat came back, that vessel came back. It's no way that they called for a tow. He was on that boat. They called for the tow, but they ain't called for him being overboard and missing. And then they get all the way back, and mama have to ask where my son at before anybody else say something, for there's a missing report or nothing. And that's supposed to be your friend, man. Y'all got to be careful who you call your friends. I'm telling you, you got to be careful who you call your friends. Ain't no way.
Others struggling as she plans his funeral, posting on Facebook,
this loss, this grief, this pain, it's different. It's insurmountable.
Man, rest in peace to Nolan Wells, man. Rest in power. Love and prayers to the family. This is one of the worst stories. It's one of the worst things, man. Like, this is crazy, for real. Like, this is unbelievable. And now actually seeing what's going on, I had no idea that those were the details that they've gotten. But we definitely gonna keep our eye on this, because they know something. Anybody who's on that boat, like, they know something. Anybody who left with him, they know the truth. The truth is with them, is with the folks that was on the boat with him, his so-called friends, his peers. They know what's happening, because there's no way that they call for a tow. There's no way that they call for a tow for a vessel in distress taking on water, and they lost one of the passengers, and they didn't say anything from the time that tow arrived to the time they moored up back on the shore. And then the mama had to come and ask, hey, where my son at? And then she have to file a missing person report. Nah, it's something real funky going on with the Nolan Wells situation. But love and condolences to the family, and justice and answers for Nolan Wells. Definitely. Moving to our next topic, y'all. We got rapper Lil Boosie. He wanted his money back after a failed Trump pardon. At least it's an alleged failed Trump pardon. I don't know. That's the way the media is shaping it. So we running with it. It sound good, but this is a wild story, y'all. This is a wild story.
All right, a popular rapper now taking legal action after claiming he paid big money for a presidential pardon that he never received. According to TMZ, Boosie, whose legal name is Torrance Hatch, says that he struck a deal with a pair of D.C. lobbyists to secure a pardon from President Trump. But the White House denies ever speaking with the duo. Boosie now is suing to recover half of the $600,000 that he claims that he paid for a promise.
Now, see, this way I want to say things get tricky, right? Okay, so in this situation, Boosie said they are saying that the article is saying that Boosie is claiming that he's suing the lobbyists because he claims he's paid $600,000 to help secure a pardon, and he wanted at least half his money back. So is Boosie snitching, or is Boosie a victim? Which one is he doing? Y'all gotta let me know. Y'all gotta let me know in the comments or the chat. You know, I ain't trying to play with the narrative. I'm just saying, like, if you paying for a pardon, you know, that's not, I'm not under the impression that that's how it works. I will say this though. Boosie got some other stuff going on right now, where he's in the courts. And, you know, we ain't even gonna speak on that because I ain't following it. You know, I don't follow the demise of our brothers and sisters. But you gotta be a real boss. For real though. You really do. You gotta be a real fly type of guy. You gotta be a real, you know, stand-up individual. To one, a prestigious and well-connected, to be able to put in to access lobbyists who could get you a pardon, he could even be in a position to be like, okay, who do I call? Because I'm a regular guy. I know some people work for government and all types of stuff, people in military positions, all that stuff, but I don't know nobody to call to be able to be like, can I spend some money to get a pardon? That's crazy. So just for Boosie for his name to be tied to this, I'd rather it be tied to this than the other nonsense that he got going on, you know. And I say to Boosie Badass, man, don't let people get you off your square, man, because haters gonna hate each and every day. That's what they do, you know. They don't want to get like you, they want to be you. So, you know, hold your head up, keep some prayers for all that what you got going on with them people. But this is wild though, right here though. This is wild. I don't know how this is gonna work out for you though.
That was not delivered. Joining us now, Chief Legal Analyst Clive Rhodes. All right, let's start off with the obvious here. Okay, so where is the legal line between paying a lobbyist to pursue a presidential pardon and then illegally paying for a pardon?
Let's start with a couple things. First of all, that's a lot of money. So I guess those wipe me down royalties are definitely still coming through.
Wipe me down.
I'll start with this. First of all, there is no line. It's clearly that if you're paying for a bribe, for a pardon, then that would cross the line. You can get someone out there to lobby, but if you're saying I want to get a guaranteed pardon, it's not going to happen. You can get someone to help with preparing your application. You can get some folks to prepare legal fees, investigation costs, lobbying fees. But to say, hey, I'm going to pay the president, this money will actually hit his hands. No, that would be bribery. That's against a number of regulations: federal robbery, honesty, service fraud, conspiracy.
Like my man said, bribery, fraud, conspiracy, all these different things. So that's why I'm just like, I don't know if that's the claim of the lawsuit. And that's why I said, not trying to spin a narrative, but is that like snitching? Because, you know, it's like, all right, if they do take money, if politicians do take money for stuff like that, or even if it was the president, I ain't gonna put that on them, any president, but if it was, but now you're making it public with the lawsuit, not like handling it on some, let me talk to who y'all talk to type situation. Let me have a meeting with who y'all talk to. So that way, even if I got to come up with some more paper, then, you know, I can make sure that I'm, you know, and then now I don't even need them lobbyists. Now I got a direct connect. I don't know. That's how I think. You know what I'm saying? Even if that don't mean you got to put on them. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got do nothing dirty to the people who got you there. You know, you ain't got to act like they ain't nobody no more. But, you know, now it's just like, all right, I'm going to deal direct. Now you can see what else they got going on. They can make some other stuff happen, you know? So I'm just saying, like, moving the pieces on the board with the lawsuit, now it's just like, you hot. We don't want to touch you. If we was going to give you one, we don't want to give it to you now type. You know, I don't know. It's theoretical, y'all, but it's crazy that Mr. Badass in that type of situation.
if they use email or text message or any type of electronic device. You're looking at wire and mail fraud. Yeah, so there is the line is extremely bright that in if these allegations are true, what he's alleging, it would seem like they were attempting to pay to play. And their response is that, no, we were lobbying. So I'm not sure what's going on right now, but I think this case will work its way through the court system at some point.
All right, let me ask you though, if Boosie really genuinely believed that he was paying for a guaranteed pardon, so not just advocacy, but could that belief then hurt his own legal position, or is it simply a contract dispute that is services that weren't rendered?
Yeah, I mean, it could actually open him up to criminality himself. If he believed that I was paying for a legitimate pardon, that this money equaled guaranteed pardon, yeah, that could include him in some type of conspiracy. I mean, this is...
See, and that's the way they shaping the lawsuit based on, that's what they saying his claim is. So that's why I'm just like, that's this wild right here. Cause it sounds like that's how he, he coming in saying, hey, I was paying for some bribery. Well, I was paying for a pardon. I was trying to bribe somebody to pay for pardon. Not that he was trying to bribe. He thought he was under the impression that you could actually pay for a pardon. So somebody had to give him that information for him to believe that. So we can't take that off the table. Somebody had to make him think that that's what he was paying for, because he came off 600, and he asking for 3 back, but he trying to go through the courts to get the 3 back, and he got to tell him why he need that 3 back. So this wild, man. This is super wild though. I don't know, Boosie.
Reminds me of the 2020 investigation by the Department of Justice when they brought this in, and they said a couple of things, that there was an allegation of a pay to play for presidential pardons. And when you look at how they got it, it wasn't based on someone saying, look, we were contacted about this.
Right.
They got into these phones. They saw that there were a number of emails and communications between individuals making the allegations that they could purchase and pay for presidential pardons. This was, again, during 2020 timeframe. And so this isn't the first time this allegation of paying to get a pardon has been out there. This is just the first time we're hearing about it regarding this rapper.
All right, so if Boosie was your client and he now says, hey, I want $300,000 back of the $600,000, how are you telling him to be very careful with this? Because just as you said, the wording as to what's getting out, as to what you believed and what might have actually happened.
I would 100% say, let me handle it. That's the first thing I'd say, like, you hire an attorney so that I can do the talking, and you don't put yourself in a position now where you're getting some type of criminal charge coming after you, after your statements, because anything you say may be an admission to some type of guilt. So I would say, if it's a true contract dispute that you hired these folks and you believe that they were lobbying on your behalf, and there's language in your contract that says you get a percentage of it back if they're unsuccessful in their lobbying efforts, let me handle that in the breach of contract case in the court. If you're attempting to handle this in the court of public opinion, I probably don't want you as a client anyway, because now you're damaging my ability to do my job.
Yeah, straight like that. And that's what it sounds like that his initial claim is damaging the ability of, a lawyer to do their job. And whoever, sometimes, man, folks be having attorneys and they let them file stuff. And I be telling folks, like, sometimes, man, you got to really know who you hire as your attorney to do stuff for you, because it's almost like they let you crash and burn, because they get paid. Once you pay them, they paid. So I think it's important that, we can't just be running to the courts to try to file stuff too. We got to look and learn and find out what is our right, what is our standing with, looking at our situation. Even the common sense in that situation is just like, bro, you was paying for a bribe. You should have known somebody was going to run a play, and that ain't something that you can really try to go to the courts and get no paper back. That's like a drug deal, Somebody run off on you, you can't call the police. So you trying to do something, it sounds like, paying for a bribe. That sounds like, something illegal, paying for a pardon. Unless there is, but then it would have been a pay.gov website. It'd have been on pay.gov where you could just go, you need a pardon, go to pay.gov. Oh, you ain't know about this website? And then you could just go and, you know, I don't know, maybe they had them green, the gold cards and the green cards on there, and you can pay the 5 million or the 10 million or whatever the millions dollars is that they got. And if you need a pardon, you know, drop a M right here. You know, you need a pardon for a friend, drop 2 M's. There you go. Get your friend home, you know, your loved one. I don't know. They ain't doing it like that though yet. So since they not doing it like that, then you know, then it is like some under the table type, you know, dealings or whatever, something that's not really, you know, it's in a gray area. So shout out to Lil Boosie, man. Shout out to Mr. Badass. You know, we praying for you, Boosie. We don't want to see you down bad. But man, I don't know how that's gonna shape out though. That sound crazy. And like Boosie got another little criminal thing going on. So prayers in the chat for Boosie, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Boosie Badass. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and jump into tonight's Too Many Mimosas.
Mimosas, presented to you by DBCHEFTV.
All right, y'all. So we got a real life 2026 crack rock strip. Back in the 80s, the 90s, you know, in neighborhoods, man, you know, you used to go on the rip. That's where the strip was. And, you know, you had crackheads out. You had different types of rips, though. You had different types of strips. You had the crack strip. You had the weed strip. You had where they were selling the dope at, you know. And people knew where they was at. But that was a long time ago, because now we see places in like Philly, some places in New York, think of some other states like Seattle that have like what they call open air markets, but they're regulated, you know, like the law enforcement doesn't go over there and enforce law too much. They just go over there and respond to like a lot of stuff as far as EMS stuff, but they don't go over there and like enforce the non-sale of, or enforce the sale of the non-selling of narcotics. But this is crazy right here though. This took me back right here. This something that was nostalgic, but it's a wild story and unbelievable for real.
San Diego is a paradise, but it is not a gangster's paradise.
He got that off though. San Diego is a paradise, but not a gangster's paradise. Even though that was some Coolio. Rest in peace to Coolio.
Feds say the West Coast Crips ran an open-air drug market at 2900 Imperial Avenue, where investigators believe thousands of people repeatedly bought cocaine base in 2025, averaging 20 pounds each week, with an estimated street value of more than $500,000. Prosecutors say the market was also what they called a backdrop for violence, pointing to a drive-by shooting back in January that left 2 people injured. Authorities say they wiretapped conversations, used confidential sources, and trained a camera on the market every day for more than a year. And as part of the operation this morning, law enforcement says they confiscated 11 pounds of cocaine, $14,000 cash, and 2 handguns. The feds say at least 22 of the defendants have prior felony convictions and are now
this crazy right here, y'all. They got people's name on here. I ain't gonna read nobody's name off here, even though but let's look at these ages though. And all these, and this tells, these ages tell the tale of the tape, of the crack era. All because the majority of these people grew up in the crack era. We got 58, 55, 55, 43, 38, 46, 60, 57, 75, 52, 56, 48, 47, 56, 65. It don't make no sense, man. Like all these people right here is from the crack era. And these all the people who was locked up. I wonder what happened. They got out and they was just like, man, we about to put this crack back out here on the streets like it's the 90s. It's crazy.
Charged with conspiracy to distribute cocaine and cocaine base.
This was a bustling crack market operating with impunity and audacity, making millions of dollars a month, just a mile or two from Petco Park, the Gaslamp Quarter, downtown businesses, luxury condos, restaurants, hotels, you name it.
All right, so what I gotta say about that though is, y'all, is the DA was up there and he was talking about they was down by this, they was down by that, and you know, you name it, and all that stuff. But they also said, then he also said they was making $1 million a month or something like that, or a week or something crazy, some crazy number. They was selling a lot of crack, okay? But they was letting them do it because they had to do the surveillance, right? So what they said was, for this year, we're going to sacrifice the safety of the community so we can get this bus. And we're going to do all this surveillance, and we're going to do all this, and we're going to do all that. And, you know, and I understand the nature of that. The nature of that is to be like, we want to get these guys off the streets permanently. So we have to let them we have to let them commit criminal activity in order to be able to justify getting them off the streets permanently when we do go in and get them. I'm explaining this to y'all because this is why selling dope is stupid. Because it's going to be people on the other side who want to let you think that you're getting away, let you think that you balling, that you getting away with this crime, that you super tough, that you super slick, that you this, that, and the third. And then they're going to come grab you, and then they're going to throw you in a hole forever. But I still don't salute the fact that we getting, you know, drugs up off the streets like that, especially these heavy drugs that be ruining people's lives. You know, crack did a lot of bad stuff to the Black community. All right. So, but I don't champion when when law enforcement be acting like we did something good when you allowed it to go on. So what about that year? What about all the destruction from that year? You know, sometimes it don't take a long time for things to go bad that have a lasting effect. You know, so I don't know, it's a tough one, but crack is whack, y'all. And you know, don't do the crime if you don't want to do the time, because they'll definitely sit on you, wait for you to think everything's sweet, and then you know, throw your ass in the clink. Moving to our second, but before we do that, y'all, we gotta give the West Coast Crips, what was them, whatever the gang was, and all of them guys, all them old heads, because a lot of them guys were older than me, some of them same age, a lot of them guys are older than me that thought they was gonna bring back the 90s crack era. You got to give them too many mimosas, because there's no way that y'all thought that y'all was going to win with that.
They've had way too much to drink. Cut them off.
Yeah. So moving to our next Too Many Mimosa story, y'all. We got a pastor that approves a registered SCX offender to be around children. This is a wild, crazy story. And this went down at a church. This is wild.
Church volunteer Warren Perry was charged in 2023 with 2 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor in the 3rd degree after committing the crimes in 2020.
Next to a child in a bathing suit. He's standing next to a child in a bathing suit.
Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Hell hath no fury like a mother and a teacher scorned.
A congregation angered after finding out registered sex offender Warren Perry had been volunteering at their church and around their children. The pastor, during tonight's meeting, explains his reasoning for keeping the knowledge behind closed doors since 2020.
Mr. Perry's conviction was no.
Damn, I ain't even know this, y'all. He waited 5 years. It's been 6 years since 2020. Ain't this 2026? And the summertime, so this might have been 6.5 years that he ain't even tell them people that they had an essay, a registered essay, working with the babies. I don't know, Don. Pastor Don, I don't know.
To me, to several leaders within our church, to our church staff, and to the leadership of Piken. The county was aware that he was volunteering on our campus, which includes the school, and we're given a list of our restrictions as well. Mr. Perry was never to be alone with a child. As Christians, here are two things that we believe to be true at the same time. We believe that children must be protected. We also believe that every person, even someone who has committed a serious crime, is made in the image of God and should be treated with dignity. I understand.
He says once he talked.
He said, not at the expense of my kids. Y'all want to hear that again? He said, not at the expense of my kids.
He says once he talked with Perry's probation officer, he was then informed he wasn't complying with his conditions. But a teacher at the school connected to the church tells me Pastor Don Williams and the director of the school has silenced those who come forward after knowing Perry has been around the children.
She's put us in positions, encouraged us to do things for him. Our children sing happy birthday to him.
She explains how the conversation went with.
She looked so disgusted when she was saying it. Let me say, look at her mouth, y'all. Look at her. Look at. She just looks so disgusted. She was like, "We sing happy birthday to this. This is crazy."
In positions, encouraged us to do things for him. Our children sing happy birthday to him.
She explains how the conversation went with her pastor.
I said to him, Don, this is really bad. We can't have a registered sex offender working around our children. This is very dangerous. And he said to me, you don't want to be the type of Christian that would spread this information. And that was the nail in the coffin.
Crazy. What type of Christian is that? What type of Christian is the type of Christian that wants their children around registered child offenders, SEX offenders, pedos, P-files, PDF files? Let me tell you something. I only want to be around the type of Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, Hinduists, and even atheists that do not want their children around P-files, okay? I don't care what your religion is. You should not want your children around nobody who don't have a human decency for a child, okay? So for Pastor Don Williams, all right, we don't know the name of your church or whatever, but we know your name. I don't know what he was thinking, how he thought that was, and we heard him with the whole, and he got a point. Okay, everybody in the eyes of the Lord and all that good stuff. But you got to think about how other people feeling about that, man. How other people concerned about that, like there was no consideration there. There was no compassion there. There was no understanding that other people, may not agree with your position. So, for that, somebody needs to.
They've had way too much to drink, cut them off.
Yeah, somebody need to cut him all the way off, man. And we're going to send some prayers out to the people of that congregation. But they done locked dude back up because he know he ain't had no business be around them babies in the first place. All right. And, we're going to get Pastor Don Williams one more.
They've had way too much to drink, cut them off.
Because he must have been drunk when he was making that decision. I don't know what was wrong with him. But, yeah, that's crazy. And, yeah, that's too many mimosas, y'all. So everybody make sure to smash that like button. Also subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so when we go live, you know, miss an episode of Brunch with the Fellas. Tonight, y'all, we had the dangerous new opioid claiming victims, Cychlorphine. Y'all be on the lookout for that. Just say no to drugs. You know, just stay drug free and you should be okay. Then we had Congress votes to end daylight savings. So no more spring forward, fall back. Remember, the key highlight of that is that when the babies go out early in the morning, you know, they won't go out the sunlight, you know, so be mindful of that when the seasons change, because, you know, it won't be the same anymore the way it used to be with the darkness, early light and all that good stuff. You just have to be mindful of it. So pay attention to the sun and the moon cycle, y'all. Then we had rapper Memphis Bleek and Tony Yayo debate life at 50. You know, they had a little smoke for each other. But yeah, you know, I saw both sides of the spectrum. But in my opinion, you know, we don't have cold seasons here tonight. In my opinion, you know, Memphis Bleek made the better points and really was, you know, spot on when you're talking about grown manism. All right. So fourth tonight, y'all, we had Diddy sell his FBI raided Miami Star Island mansion for $55. Diddy will be home soon. Think he was just trying to get liquid, you know, moving some money around. But that's crazy when you locked up and you got assets that you could still move around. Like people still speaking your name out here on 55 M's. Like that's light, like that's some light change, you know? So stay tuned for more Diddy news. Then we got the death of Nolan Wells, y'all. They just looking for answers and justice. Prayers go out to the family. And like we said, it's no way that they could have been boating and their radio was working clearly. So if he went missing, then they could have radioed. You know, they could have radioed for, if they could radio for a tow, they could radio for a man overboard, they could radio for a situation, and they got towed all the way back. You know, towing is slow too. If y'all don't know, towing is a very slow process. So they got all the way back and nobody mentioned that he wasn't with them and he left with them. He got underway with them, but then no RTHP. He did not return to home port with them. And nobody said nothing. His mom's had to come looking for answers, and she still ain't got all the answers that she deserves. So prayers to their family, and we're going to definitely stay checking that story out. Then we had Lil Boosie, man. He won his money back after that alleged Trump pardon failed. But I don't know. I don't know, Boosie. I don't know if you know. I don't even know if you're gonna get that 300 back. That whole 6 sound like it's gone already. Poof, vamoose. You know, that sound crazy. But prayers for Lil Boosie, man. Hope things work out for you. You know, we're gonna keep, you know, your life, our entertainment, in the words of T.I. You know, so we're gonna keep following. We're gonna keep watching. You know, we don't want you to keep doing that stuff, though. We don't want to be talking bad, talking down on a player. You know, we want to see some of them highlights, Boosie. We want you, you know, get back to being Mr. Badass, man, doing what you do. So hopefully you make it through this little storm and everything be cool. But that's all we got for y'all tonight. Make sure to smash that like button. Once again, smash that like, smash that like. And we got merch, y'all. We got merch. Link is in the description. Don't forget that. We want everybody to have a peaceful, positive, and productive rest of your weekend. And leave us something in the comments, y'all. Let us know something in the comments. And until next time, I'm Chef Earl Pearl at DBCHEFTV with Cold Seasons. And you can follow us on IG, Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. Links all in the description. Until next time, peace.
This whole publication is all about going from nowhere to somewhere, right? Being able to stand on something so that you can travel in peace, right? So bksoulfarm.com, 1016-160 self-sustainability. Jump on the list and get yourself together, right? Because it is irresponsible to not even know what responsibility means. So get yourself together, food, clothing, and shelter, protection of that, support your interests, and live.
Love ain't always easy, and we won't stop until we get it right. So bring that ass to the Love Speak podcast. Subscribe today and let your love speak at TLS Podcast. The Love Speak, now streaming on YouTube. You are the key to your financial freedom. So unlock your inner wealth with financial fundamentals at Bows on the Table. Subscribe today and never miss a meal at Bows Podcast. Bows on the Table, now streaming on YouTube. At the Veteran Kettle Podcast, we thank you for your service, support, and sacrifice to our country. Listen to real stories of adversity and triumph as we give our best to honor our vets. Subscribe today and watch episodes now streaming on YouTube at TVK Podcast, The Veteran Kettle. Sign up for the newsletter and shop merch and clothing at DBCHEFTV.com.